Days of our lives spiral into a world of guilt, anger, and dangerous choices that could change her life forever. We'll explore what leads to her mental breakdown, her surprising reactions, and the heartbreaking incident involving her pregnant teacher. Let's unravel this story step by step, with all the emotional depth and suspense that makes Days of Our Lives so addictive. Rachel's emotional devastation reaches critical breaking point. The aftermath of Kristen DiMera's courtroom confession and subsequent sentencing has left Rachel Black in a state of complete psychological collapse. The young girl finds herself drowning in an ocean of guilt and self-blame, convinced that her testimony during Johnny DiMera's trial directly contributed to her beloved mother's imprisonment. Rachel's mental state deteriorates rapidly as she processes the shocking reality that Kristen will be locked away in Statesville for the next 6 years, a sentence that feels like an eternity to a child who desperately needs her mother's presence. Holly Jonas emerges as an unexpected beacon of hope during Rachel's darkest hour, offering compassionate support and encouragement when the traumatized girl breaks down in uncontrollable tears. Holly's gentle words of comfort become a lifeline for Rachel, though they may not be enough to prevent the dangerous path that lies ahead. The weight of responsibility crushes down on Rachel's young shoulders as she replays every moment of her testimony, analyzing each word she spoke and wondering if different choices could have saved her mother from this terrible fate. The psychological trauma runs deeper than anyone realizes, as Rachel struggles with fragmented memories and an overwhelming sense of powerlessness. Her inability to comprehend the complex adult world of legal proceedings and family secrets creates a perfect storm of confusion and despair that threatens to consume her entirely. The hidden truth behind Kristen's ultimate sacrifice. Kristen DiMera's false confession represents the ultimate maternal sacrifice, a desperate attempt to shield her daughter from a truth too horrific for a young mind to process. The reality that Kristen is protecting Rachel from is earth-shattering. The child was actually the one who pulled the trigger during the shooting incident involving E.J. DiMera. Kristen's decision to accept responsibility for a crime she didn't commit demonstrates the extraordinary lengths a mother will go to preserve her child's innocence and mental health. Dr. Marlena Evans, Rachel's grandmother and a respected psychiatrist, fully supports keeping this devastating secret buried deep within the family vault. Marlena understands the psychological implications of forcing a child to confront such traumatic memories before she's emotionally equipped to handle them. The dissociative amnesia that currently protects Rachel from remembering her actions serves as a natural defense mechanism, one that the adults in her life are determined to preserve at all costs. However, Brady Black begins to sense that something isn't right with the entire situation surrounding Kristen's confession. His paternal instincts tell him that there are missing pieces to this puzzle, and his growing suspicion threatens to unravel the carefully constructed web of protection that surrounds Rachel. The tension between maintaining the truth and protecting an innocent child creates an impossible situation for everyone involved. Rachel's dangerous descent into destructive behavior. As the reality of her mother's absence settles in, Rachel's behavior becomes increasingly erratic and concerning. The combination of guilt, abandonment issues, and unprocessed trauma manifests in ways that alarm everyone around her. What begins as typical childhood acting out quickly escalates into something far more serious and potentially dangerous. Spoilers indicate that Rachel will embark on secretive visits to Statesville to see her imprisoned mother, echoing previous incidents where she defied Brady's authority to maintain contact with Kristen. These unauthorized prison visits represent Rachel's desperate attempt to maintain some semblance of connection with the most important person in her life. During these emotional encounters, Kristen faces the heartbreaking challenge of comforting her daughter while maintaining the facade of guilt for a crime she didn't commit. The emotional reunions between mother and daughter become increasingly intense as Rachel's memories begin to surface in disturbing fragments. The protective barrier of dissociative amnesia starts to crack under the pressure of her ongoing trauma, threatening to expose the truth that everyone has worked so hard to conceal. Kristen must navigate these visits with extreme care, knowing that one wrong word could trigger a complete memory recovery that would devastate her daughter's fragile psyche. The catastrophic classroom incident. Perhaps the most shocking development in Rachel's downward spiral involves a catastrophic incident at school that results in unthinkable tragedy. The emotional instability and uncontrolled anger that have been building within Rachel reach a dangerous crescendo when she lashes out at her pregnant teacher in a moment of pure rage and desperation. The pregnant educator becomes an innocent victim of Rachel's psychological breakdown, suffering injuries that lead to the heartbreaking loss of her unborn child. This tragic miscarriage represents the devastating collateral damage of the web of secrets and lies that have surrounded Rachel's situation. The teacher, who had likely shown nothing but kindness and patience toward her troubled student, becomes the unintended target of Rachel's misdirected fury and pain. This shocking incident marks a critical turning point in Rachel's story, transforming her from a victim of circumstances into someone whose actions have caused irreversible harm to an innocent person. The gravity of this situation extends far beyond typical childhood behavioral problems, entering territory that will require serious intervention and potentially legal consequences. The ripple effects across Salem. The news of Rachel's involvement in the classroom tragedy sends shockwaves throughout the Salem community, forcing everyone to confront the devastating consequences of their well-intentioned deception. Brady Black finds himself facing the unthinkable reality that his attempts to protect his daughter may have inadvertently contributed to this catastrophic outcome. Tony DiMera's mysterious return to Salem with plans involving Theo Carver adds another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. Tony's unclear intentions regarding potential business ventures or family machinations create additional stress and uncertainty for a family already reeling from Rachel's situation. The timing of his arrival couldn't be more problematic, as the DiMera family struggles to maintain unity while dealing with multiple crises simultaneously. The involvement of Steve Johnson and his growing suspicions about the true circumstances surrounding recent events threatens to expose the carefully guarded secrets that have protected Rachel thus far. As Salem's resident investigator, Steve's natural instincts lead him closer to uncovering the truth about what really happened during the shooting incident, creating additional pressure on an already unstable situation. The path forward, consequences and revelations. As the week of September 15th to 19th approaches, Salem braces for even more shocking revelations that will fundamentally alter the landscape of multiple families. Rachel's actions have set in motion a series of events that cannot be undone, forcing everyone involved to confront the harsh realities of their choices and the unintended consequences of their protective instincts. The question now becomes whether Rachel can be helped before she causes even more damage to herself and others. The combination of professional psychological intervention, family support, and potentially legal consequences creates a complex web of challenges that must be navigated with extreme care and wisdom. Kristen's prison sentence takes on new meaning as the true scope of Rachel's problems becomes apparent. What was intended as a temporary sacrifice to protect her daughter's innocence has evolved into a much more complicated situation that may require Kristen's direct involvement to resolve, despite her incarceration. The upcoming episodes promise to deliver the kind of dramatic intensity and emotional depth that Days of Our Lives fans have come to expect, while exploring the very real consequences of trauma, secrets, and the lengths parents will go to protect their children, even when those efforts may ultimately cause more harm than good. Next, Days of Our Lives recap, Wednesday, September 10, 2025, Marlena breaks down, Kayla offers support, and Steve confides in his wife. There are days in Salem when the weight of grief, memory, and the unshakable past seems too much for even the strongest souls to bear. On this particular Wednesday, September 10, 2025, viewers of Days of Our Lives witnessed one of those unforgettable evenings, an evening when Marlena Evans, the steadfast rock of Salem for decades, confessed that she may be losing herself. The story began quietly, with Marlena meeting Kayla Brady at the bar. What seemed at first like a simple conversation between two longtime friends and colleagues quickly unfolded into one of the most emotionally heavy scenes of the day. Kayla had news to share, news that almost seemed too good to be true. E.J. DiMera, a man whose reputation has long been tied to greed, manipulation, and ruthless ambition, had made a significant gesture of generosity. He donated a large sum to the Tom Horton Free Clinic. Kayla admitted she could hardly believe it herself. EJ's motives have never been simple, and when it comes to the DeMaras, nothing is ever without layers of strategy. Still, the two women marveled at the fact that such an act could actually benefit so many people in need. But their talk of philanthropy did not hold for long. Kayla soon noticed something weighing heavily on Marlena's shoulders. The sparkle in Marlena's eyes had dimmed, her tone was soft but heavy, as though her very spirit were sagging beneath an unbearable burden. Finally, Marlena admitted what she had been holding inside. She was exhausted, truly exhausted. She told Kayla that she couldn't sleep, that her nights were still haunted by nightmares she couldn't escape. More than that, she admitted that worry consumed her, especially when it came to Tate, Belle, and Rachel. This was not the confident, collected Marlena that Salem has always known. This was a woman drowning in grief and fear, still carrying the shadows of recent tragedies. Her voice trembled as she explained that she was overwhelmed, and when Kayla gently tried to guide her to open up more, Marlena broke down. With tears brimming in her eyes, she whispered words that stunned her closest friend, "I don't know who I am anymore." It was a moment of raw truth, a rare glimpse of Marlena stripped of her steady persona, revealing the fragile, human heart beneath. For a woman who has counseled countless others, who has helped Salem through endless storms, to admit that she had lost her own footing was nothing short of heartbreaking. And then, just as Marlena seemed ready to confess more, just as Kayla leaned forward, ready to hold her steady, Steve Johnson walked in. His presence, though always welcome, interrupted the intensity of the moment. Marlena quickly pulled herself together, the way she has so many times before, tucking her pain back inside and changing the subject. The conversation shifted. The three of them discussed Kristen DeMara's recent sentencing, a topic that could not be avoided. Kristen's fate had been sealed by the courts, yet her shadow still loomed over everyone, especially over her daughter, Rachel. There was a shared sadness when Rachel's name was mentioned. The poor girl has been caught between her mother's crimes and her own desire for stability. Marlena's voice cracked slightly as she acknowledged Rachel's struggles. From there, they spoke of Tate, who is now navigating college life. Marlena's maternal worry was palpable. Even though her son is no longer a child, to Marlena he will always be the boy she longs to protect. She ended the evening with polite words, excused herself, and left Kayla and Steve behind. But viewers could see it, behind her calm exit, Marlena was still a woman unraveling inside. Once Marlena had gone, the focus shifted to Steve and Kayla, who lingered together in the dim light of the bar. Steve, ever the rugged protector, finally let his guard down with his wife. He confided in her about the growing tension with their daughter, Stephanie. His voice carried a hint of regret as he spoke about a misunderstanding that had driven a wedge between them. He explained that Stephanie was facing a difficult decision, one that could change the course of her future. For Steve, a man who has battled countless enemies and braved the fiercest storms, it was clear that nothing cut deeper than conflict with his own daughter. Kayla listened with quiet strength, the way only she can. She placed her hand on his, reassuring him that no matter what, they would face it together. The scene closed not with explosive drama, but with something far more powerful, the quiet acknowledgement of how fragile family bonds can be, and how much effort it takes to hold them together in the face of heartache. A deeper look at the episode. This episode was not about shocking revelations or explosive confrontations, it was about the slow, heavy weight of grief, worry, and family conflict. Marlena's confession was perhaps one of the most vulnerable moments we've seen from her in recent years. To admit she no longer knows who she is, after a lifetime of being Salem's guiding light, struck a deep chord. For longtime fans, it was almost like watching a pillar of the community begin to crumble. Kayla's role was equally significant. She did what good friends and sisters-in-law do best, she listened, she supported, and she reminded Marlena that she wasn't alone. Even though Marlena couldn't yet reveal the full scope of her feelings, Kayla was there as a steady presence. Meanwhile, Steve's storyline provided a parallel layer of emotional depth. Just as Marlena struggled with her role as a mother, Steve wrestled with the pain of his daughter's distance. Both stories, woven together, reminded viewers that even the strongest families have cracks, and even the most heroic figures struggle with their own inner battles.